Hello and welcome to the 7 Pillars of Management Seminar Overview. My name is Paul Puckridge. I'm the National Training Manager here at the Success Institute. It's my pleasure to welcome you here today. It's fair to say that in over 10 years of running this training across Australia, Southeast Asia and into the South Pacific, there really is no other two-day management program like the 7 Pillars of Management. The 7 Pillars of Management addresses, as we'll learn shortly, the key issues in being a more effective manager and leader in any organization and in any workplace. The 7 Pillars is a two-day course, and what we hear from so many people is that most attendees learn more in 2 days than they did in the prior 2 years of being at work. The course is perfect for anyone in a management role, a supervisory or team leadership role, or in fact those people you've earmarked as emerging talent. Maybe not managers yet, but at some point you'd like to promote them. And the course is able to transcend each of those particular careers and roles. The 7 Pillars allows you to easily develop and upgrade a person's current management leadership skills and, more importantly, their leadership smarts. Just before we move on, let me give you access to a brochure. And if you want to go to tinyurl.com/90, that's for orange, LTW6S, you can download a brochure and follow along with me or have a look at it in your own time. If you need to press pause, by the way, feel free to do that in order to copy the link. Alright, let's move on. In the brochure itself, you'll find a lot of information about the program as well as what's included in the course. The 7 Pillars of Management is very much like training a pilot to fly in an aircraft. A pilot looks at the instruments on the cockpit and in the cockpit, and the instruments enable the pilot to know exactly where they are, where they need to be, and how the aircraft is performing. And likewise, the 7 Pillars cover 7 critical areas that are essential if a manager, a team leader, a supervisor, or someone about to step into a management role is to understand how to do their job as well as they possibly can. It takes the guesswork out of knowing what is a manager and how do you manage effectively. So let's take a few minutes and look at the 7 Pillars, in particular an overview of what we cover in 2 days. The first pillar is called Managing Expectations, and this is about helping managers understand things like the difference between being a manager and being a leader. What are the differences, and why do you need to be both manager and leader? What is expected of a best practice manager, supervisor, or team leader in the best practice organizations today? So what we're trying to do here is prime your people to enable them to know what they need to learn and do to become effective as managers. So we look at things such as defining the expectations that organizations have of managers today. We look at a case study. What is the difference between managing and leading, and why most of us aren't both, but we have to be both, and how to do that. We also look at the critical aspect of being a technical human or conceptual skills manager. You see, most of us moved from an employee to a manager perhaps some time ago because we had good technical skills and maybe some human or some people skills. But to get to the next level, to be effective, to take our hands off the day-to-day as such, we have to start thinking conceptually, how to problem solve, make decisions, brainstorm, be creative. And of course, that isn't going to happen in a day or two or even a month, but what we are training your managers to do is to become less technical, to empower your people, delegate downwards, to develop their people skills, and to start adding real value by becoming more conceptual. Finally, your managers get to assess themselves and how they are doing in a comparison of the most successful supervisors, team leaders and managers in the workplace today. And this is a real eye-opener, because what it enables your people to do is to see what skills they have to develop now when they go back into the workplace. And so we find that people attending this course start to take responsibility for their own learning and development, and not just wait for someone to tell them what they have to do. Pillar number 2 is called managing operations, and this is about understanding why they're on the payroll. In other words, every person employed, especially those in a management role, are there to make sure their team, be it great or small, achieves a series of annual targets, objectives, goals, KPIs. But one of the challenges that face many managers is, how do you cascade that down into the day-to-day? There's the big picture, and then there's the stuff. Pillar number 2 helps them learn how to do that effectively. So here are just a few things that we cover. We really get your managers to see what it is they've been employed to accomplish. And it's not just reading email and attending meetings and doing, as you've heard me say before, stuff. It's about understanding that they have to be focusing some of their time on the strategic, on the long term, how to cascade that down into the medium term or the monthly, and then how to bring that down further into the weekly and the daily. So what this does is gives your people a much broader idea of what it is they're expected to achieve and how to do that. We introduce the concept of the personal balance scorecard, and in this scorecard we look at 4 areas: the customer, the financial, innovation, and learning and growth, which you may be familiar with. And even if your organization does not use a scorecard as such, every manager attending this course by the end of the program can put together a 1-page strategic plan outlining where he or she wants their team to focus and work on based upon the information they already have. This is incredibly effective, and for a manager who leaves this course, they know exactly where they need to head strategically over the course of the year and how to take their people with them. As I mentioned, we introduced the concept of a personal balance scorecard, which can sit beautifully with a current scorecard, or if you don't use one, it can work independently, enabling your managers to understand those 4 key result areas. What we find is there are many managers who are hard working but are focused at the pointy end rather than understanding there are 3 levels they need to be aware of. That is the strategic, the long term, the tactical being the medium term, and the operational being what they're doing day to day and week by week. Pillar number 2 also enables them to set a clear vision, a clear direction for their people, and then the goals that they need to go back into their workplace to set with their team in order to achieve these objectives. And people leave with a very clear plan on how to do that. Alright, pillar number 3 is managing yourself. It doesn't matter how many qualifications you have or how good you think you are. If you can't manage yourself, it's pretty hard to manage anyone else. And so managing yourself is all about time and priority management. So we look at strategic personal planning, how to start every day with greater clarity, greater focus, and how to predict how your day is going to turn out rather than it being random based upon other external activities. We look at a manager's biggest time wasters and blockages and how to overcome those. We help them prioritize their long-term, medium and short-term using a method called triage, which is just changes the way managers think about how they manage their time and their priorities. Also, we give them at least a dozen different ways that they can save up to an hour a day. And that doesn't mean going home to do more work. It means feeling a greater sense of achievement while they're at work and getting things done. Pillar number 4 is managing emotional intelligence, or sometimes as it's known, EQ or EI. This has been such an important part of effective management over the past 10 years, and we know that managers and leaders who are emotionally intelligent have better relationships with their colleagues, their team members, the manager above them, their customers. And emotionally intelligent managers by far outperform those who are emotionally illiterate. So we look at things such as what is emotional intelligence and why it's essential for them to understand and develop it. We help them measure emotional intelligence. We also look at what every manager can do who attends to raise their own emotional quotient. And the good thing about emotional intelligence versus, say, IQ is that while IQ might be fixed, EQ can develop over time. And whether we have someone who's 25 or 55 attending the course, they will leave the program with the skills and the knowledge, as well as the after training coaching to develop their emotional intelligence further. People love this pillar because it really opens up the ahas that many managers have about being effective in their team and being emotionally intelligent. Alright, pillar number 5, managing your team. Now, whether you manage yourself or whether you manage a team of 1 or 2 or 10 or 20, your results as a manager are entirely tied into the success and effectiveness of a team. So this is why we help each of your managers to become more effective managing their people. We help them identify their style of management. Are they hands-on? Are they hands-off? And what's appropriate? Also, what are some of the common pitfalls in managing and leading a team of people? We start to look at coaching and mentoring and when to do that, as well as understanding team motivation. In fact, this is a wonderful pillar that gets everyone up and onto the whiteboards and the flip charts to help them really develop a plan to manage their team when they get back to work. Finally, they learn how to bring the best out in their team. So every single person who's there, who has a team, walks away with a plan to take their people to a new level. Pillar number 6 is managing information and delegation. Once again, you can be a great manager, but if you don't delegate, if you don't train and coach and mentor and encourage people to learn new things, you're going to be ineffective. And so pillar 6 is all about delegating and managing information. So, how to organize your work area so that you feel in control and you set a good example for your people. How to identify the information, be it electronic or paper, that you have to have around you. Also, we teach them a 4-step delegation method that's designed to help them be able to get things out of their head and delegate in such a way that they can almost guarantee their people are going to learn what has to be done and go ahead and do it. Once again, a very practical pillar that gives your managers the skills and the smarts to let go so they can spend more time on the bigger picture, enabling your people to take up some of the slack. Finally, pillar 7 is called managing life balance. You see, does any of this really matter if your life is a mess? And unfortunately, with people working longer hours, with smartphones, meaning that we're always connected and we're always online, a lot of managers have a life out of whack. And this pillar is all about helping them gain greater control of their career as well as their life. So in this pillar, they get to assess how they're currently doing with their balance. We get them to identify the wheel of life, realizing there could be 8 areas of their life and how they're doing in those 8 critical areas, putting things into perspective. We also give your managers a whole assortment of tools to help them manage their life outside of work, to feel a greater sense of joy and happiness, to reduce their stress, all simple workable tools that can make an enormous difference in how a manager feels about him or herself. And finally, we want your managers to really understand that it's not about where they are today, but where they need to be in the future. And the program gives them their personal SWOT, their strengths, their weaknesses, career opportunities and threats, and helps them develop a future-proofing model to take them ahead. So I'm pretty sure, as you can see here, this course is very practical. It's very hands-on. It's not just based on theory, it's based on workable solutions to make your managers more effective. So let me ask you this question. If your managers could attend a 2-day course and learn those things, would they be better at their job? Would they be more energized? Would they be more effective? Now, people often ask, what's the course like? Well, let me give you a few little insights. The course is highly interactive. No one's sitting there with their iPhones on sending SMS messages. People are talking with each other, talking to the trainer. They're taking notes, they're writing things down, they're exploring new ways of doing things. The course is engaging because we ensure that what they're learning is applicable to their job. This isn't a textbook they're reading from or some theoretical model. It's very practical. Like I've said several times now, when people leave the course, they can take what they've learned and use this information immediately. And that's what people love about it, because everything is applicable to every single person, whether you're a new manager or whether you've been managing and leading for some time. And, oops, you may not be able to see that, but it says it's not motivating, it's actually motivating. This course isn't a rah-rah course, stand up and pump the air, but people really leave the course wanting to be a better manager. They feel like they've been given some tools, they've been given some insights and some ways to help them manage more effectively. So it is motivating, and in fact, it's very motivating. So, would those pillars I've mentioned boost your skills and boost your people's skills? If the answer is yes, we'd love you to download a brochure, and more importantly, I'd love you to put some people on the program. So once again, if you didn't take down that website earlier, tinyurl.com/90, that's not 0, it's O for orange, 90 LTW success, and you will get the latest brochure, and you can read it, and there's all sorts of information on there. And in fact, we even have some special offers at the moment, so if you'd like to know about that, please feel free to give us a call, 1300 881 891, or you can email us at mail@learningforme or mail@success.net.au, and that'll find us, and we'd be delighted to help you. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you soon, and more importantly, I'd love to see either yourself or your colleagues on the 7 Pillars course coming up. Until then, enjoy every success.